Hello, good morning, everyone. So today we are having our class on application of remote sensing in forest ecology. So this is the content which we are going to cover in this lecture: introduction to remote sensing, introduction to forest ecology, relationship between remote sensing and forest ecology, applications of remote sensing in forest ecology, case studies and conclusions. Introduction: remote sensing, the science of what is. So firstly, when we are talking about the applications of remote sensing and GIS in forest ecology, so first it is important to understand the concept of remote sensing and GIS. uh, as you all have studied in your previous semesters also, the remote sensing is a science of acquiring the information about the object without entering in contact with it, by sensing or recording the reflected or emitted energy and processing, analyzing, and applying that information. So, the process of collecting information about the Earth features or the Earth phenomena using sensors not in physical contact with the surface of the Earth and the phenomena of interest. There is a medium of transmission involved, that is Earth's atmosphere. So, in brief, what we can say, when we are collecting information about the Earth's surface without being into the direct contact with the being into the physical contact with the surface, and we are capturing the information, that thing, and we are able to process that energy, analyzing it and applying it, that information is known as remote sensing. Now, briefly we will discuss what are the principles of these remote sensing. Firstly, the detection and discrimination of the object or the surface features, means detecting and recording the radiant energy reflected or emitted by objects or surface material. So first thing is discriminate and detection and discrimination of the various earth objects. This depends on the first, the property of. Now this detection discrimination of different objects, okay, return different amount of energy, as every object it has its own property, or different amount of energy they reflect back to the reflect back. Okay, so the different objects return different amount of energy in different bands of electromagnetic spectrum incident upon it. So this depends on first. Now this energy which they the this electromagnetic spectrum uh, you know uh, captures is depend upon the following factors. First, the property of material, what kind of structure, chemical and physical is there. Second, the surface roughness, angle of incident of energy, intensity, wavelength of radiant energy. So principle of remote sensing, it is basically based upon help us into detection and discrimination of objects or surface features, means detecting and recording of radiant energy reflected or emitted by the objects or the surface material. Now this energy which they reflect back or emit back is dependent upon the various properties. Now what are these properties? First is the property of the material, what kind of structure, chemical properties or physical properties an object is having. Then the roughness of the surface. Okay, then the angle of incident, what angle of incidence is there, intensity and the wavelength of radiant energy. Now, remote sensing, as I told you, so these are different satellites through which we are observing these things, aeroplanes which or the drones or those kind of things are there to get different kinds of remote sensing images. Remote sensing platforms, there are three kinds of platforms through which we can get these images. First is ground based, second is airplane based, and third one is the satellite based. Now there are some sensors which also plays an important role in capturing these remote sensing data sets. One is the active sensors, which includes the laser, altimeter. This all you have. This is a basic which you need to know before we are going to have an idea about the relationship of remote sensing in this forestry and ecology. So there are some active sensors which produce these data sets, and there are some passive remote sensing centers. Like passive are radiometer, spectrometer, etc. Now there are three main types of sensor which are being used for these kind of activities of anything. One is optical, one is microwave, and one is near infrared. So optical sensor, they are they falls under the visible range or infrared range. The lidar and the radar, this is a microwave sensor. So these are the main sensors which is being used. Then the remote sensing, it involves the use of aircrafts or satellites to collect photographs or scanned images on the earth's surface. Remote sensing, what it includes the aircrafts or the satellites to collect photographs or scanned images of the earth's surfaces. Secondly, the origin of this remote sensing. Now briefly we will see key what how this remote sensing has been originates. The origin of remote sensing is, date back when we started taking photograph in 1858 through balloons, or then the World War I came, and then aeroplanes had become a main platform from which the aerial photographs were collected. So initially there was a time when balloons were used for the first time for capturing the photographs, date back in 1858. Then during World War One, aeroplanes, they became the main source through which we have collected photographs. Then a brief history also one should know, which maybe many of you have studied in your first semester also. So history of remote sensing, it started from the time 1858 when the balloon photography took place, then kite photography, pigeon cameras in 1903, aircraft in 1947. Okay, aircraft space. So remote sensing. So this is a brief history about that, how it started and for what purposes. And nowadays, when we are having so much of high resolution data sets, and we can go for any kind of modeling, mapping, etc. Then we have a remote sensing cycle where the remote sensing includes the mission, plan, and choice of sensors. Okay, first thing is the mission plan and the choice of sensors. Secondly, the reception, recording, and processing of signal data. And the third one is the analysis of the resultant data. So first we need to plan our mission. As per that, we go for the selection of the sensors, that what sensor has to be used for a particular mission. And then after this decision, we go for the reception of data sets, recording of data sets, and further the processing of those signal data sets. And finally, after the second stage, where we finish off with the recording, processing, etc., we come for the analysis, and the resultant data can be procured. Now the remote sensing processes and components, what they include the energy source of illumination, A. If you see here, A, the illuminations energy source, that is sun, then radiation and the atmosphere. Okay, from here it radiates, then it interacts, okay, with the targets, and then recording of this energy by the sensor. Here the satellite sensors are there. Now whatever energy source is being illuminated and radiated or interacting with the target points, and then it is being recorded by the sensors, okay, in the form of energy, then transmission, reception and processing by E, okay, and then the interpretation and the elements analysis, it comes, and finally the application. So starting from the illumination, where we are focusing about the energy source, we are processing these data sets of remote sensing through different components of radiation, interacting, recording, transmission, reception and processing, and interpretation and analysis, and finally, yes, of course, the application of those data sets. Then the remote sensing basic processes are data acquisition, processing, analysis, and then we go for the accuracy assessment of the same, and the information distribution to the users. This is the basic processes. Some known satellites are different IRS series, LIS, Indian satellites, which includes LIS, Cartosat, etc., NOAA, GOES, MADIS, MODIS, Landsat. So these are different known satellites, Iconus, Kuiper, okay. All these are known satellites. Then comes, now this I have given you the basic introduction about the remote sensing, how this technique has evolved, how about the brief history, what are the major components, and after the collection of different data sets, how we go for the processing up to the application of these things. Then comes the ecology. What is ecology? In the previous lecture also we have studied that the ecology is a study of living organisms in the natural environment, how they interact with each other, how they interact with their environment. So this kind of study is known as, so the study about the living and non-living organisms in the natural environment is known as ecology. There are various divisions of ecology, which includes the study of archaeology, habitat ecology, where we study about the growth and the development of plants and their habitats, then etc. Okay, so these are the different divisions of ecology. Now there are different levels of organization: physical hierarchy, biological hierarchy, and ecological hierarchy. When we are talking about the biological hierarchy, they are cellular level, tissue level, organ level, and the organ system level, and individual level. So this is biological hierarchy. Ecological hierarchy, it includes population level, community level, ecosystem level, and biosphere level. So this is a ecological hierarchy. Then forest ecology. What is forest ecology? Earlier we have studied ecology, that this is a study of living organisms, how they interact with each other or how they interact with environment. The various divisions of ecology and various levels of organization of this ecology. Okay, there is biological hierarchy, ecological hierarchy, etc. Then comes the forest ecology, what our subject is, what we need to focus on. Now the forest ecology is the scientific study of the interrelated patterns, processes, flora, fauna, and ecosystem of the forest. So what is forest ecology? Ecology is a living organism. Okay, so when we are talking about the forest ecology, this is a scientific study where we study the interrelated patterns of various processes in the forested areas, what a kind of different floras are there, what kind of faunas are there, what kind of ecosystems are there, and in the forest. So whatever is there related to the ecology of forest, the scientific study of those interrelated things, flora, fauna, and ecosystem in the forest, is forest ecology. A forest ecosystem, now what is forest ecosystem? Is a natural woodland unit consisting of all the plants, animals, and microorganisms. They are all living components in the forest ecosystem. That area functioning together with all the non-living organisms, abiotic factors of the environment. Now, a forest ecosystem is what? The living and non-living factors of forest environment is known as the forest ecosystem. Ecology is what? The study of processes, what kind of different uh, processes are there, interrelated patterns are there, flora, fauna, and ecosystem in the forested area. But a forest ecosystem is what? Is a natural woodland unit consisting of all the plants, animals, microorganisms. This consists of biotic components in that area and functioning together with the all of the non-living factors in the environment. This is forest ecosystem. Now, forest ecology is the study of forest ecosystems. Forest ecosystems are in which the major ecological characteristics reflect the dominance of ecosystem conditions and processes by the trees. Okay, so forest ecology is the study of forest ecosystems. Okay, like in the definition also, what we have told, that for study of forest ecosystem. Okay, forest ecology is the study of forest ecosystem, and forest ecosystem, forests are the ecosystem in which the major ecological characteristics reflect the dominance of ecosystem conditions by process by tree. Now, ecosystems are ecological systems that have attributes of structure, functioning, interaction of the component parts, and change over time. So, ecosystem are ecological systems that have the attributes of various structures of the forest, various functioning of those ecosystems, interaction of the components parts, and change, what kind of changes they took place with the change of time. Now, the key structure component of forest ecosystem are plants, animals, microbes, soils, and atmosphere. Okay, so for any kind of forest ecosystem, what are the key components? They are very understood. If we are talking about ecosystem, especially a forest ecosystem, without plant we cannot go for any kind of analysis. So plants, if plants are there, obviously there will be some kind of flora, fauna also inside this. Plants, animals, microbes, soils. To grow the plants, we need a soil. So soil and the atmosphere and the surrounding atmosphere. So these are the key component of any forest ecosystem. Then the key function. After the key components, we must know about the key function aspects of forest ecosystem are the energy capturing and biomass creation, nutrient cycle, regulation of atmosphere, and the water chemistry, and important contributors to the regulation of the water cycle. So what are the functioning of these forest ecosystem? First and foremost is the energy capturing and biomass creation. Second, the nutrient cycle, how it is behaving. the regulation of atmosphere, and the water chemistry. Okay, how the water balance is being taken place, then the important contributions to the regulation of water cycle. Okay, what are the major contributions which are playing an important role for any kind of water cycle or water balancing in that particular area. So key functional aspects of a forest ecosystem are the energy capturing and biomass creation, nutrient cycle, how its cycling is behaving, then the regulation of atmosphere and the water chemistry, finally the important contribution to the regulation of the water cycle. So this is the major structure. Then the forest ecosystems are continually changing. If you see the forest ecosystem, if you talk about the various forest ecosystem of the country, they are continuously changing. So this change initiated by external disturbances in the forested area, largely determined by the internal ecosystem processes, is vital for the maintenance of aspects of biological diversity. So if you see the forest ecosystems, they are changing continuously with the huge changes. These changes may be initiated due to some disturbances in these forest ecosystem. Maybe largely they are determined, these changes are determined by the internal processes in the forest ecosystem. Okay, so it is very important for the maintenance of any aspects of biological biodiversity, or any changes which are taking place, that we should know what are the major factors, or why these forest ecosystem we are knowing it. So what are the responsible factors, and uh, how can we manage these systems now? The relationship between forest ecology and the remote sensing. Now, how this remote sensing technique can be beneficial for this, identification of the changing scenario in the forest ecosystem, and how these, remote sensing based observations can be helpful for managing this kind of destruction, or the disturbances of different ecosystems, and how, if we know it, then we can go for the strategic planning for reducing those threats of depletion of these forest ecosystems. Now, to know that, firstly we should know that what is the relationship between the forest ecology and the remote sensing. So let's have a discussion on this, that a variety of ecological application require data from broad spatial extent that cannot be collected in field-based methods. Okay, so forest ecosystems, in some, if you go to the hilly terrains, or if you go to the desert-like terrains, so due to the hard conditions, it is not possible to collect each and every information by going to the field. So here, because we cannot go to the field due to the harsh conditions of the forest environment, or the area, due to the topography of that area. So the remote sensing and GIS applications are a powerful tool, that without going to the field, okay, we can, if you know the interpretation of those images, we, without going to the field, we can have an idea about the different ecological aspects of that particular area. And then, with the base data sets which may be available with the the various departments, we can go for the collection of these data sets. So a variety of ecological application require data sets, which is very difficult to collect from the field. Okay, so these remain remote sensing satellites, they are very helpful for the initial level of this thing. Then the remote sensing data and technique address these needs, which include identifying and detailing the characteristics of the species habitat. So second, first is because some areas are inaccessible. In those areas, these techniques, they are helpful for gathering the information or collecting the information where we cannot reach due to the inaccessibility. Second, the remote sensing and GIS techniques address these needs, which include identification and detailing of the characteristics of the species. Okay, then the third thing is prediction and distribution of species. Easily we can go for the classification of forest. Easily we can go for the yes, do need to go for the quantification, that what is the authenticity of our data for a large area, because generally these forest ecosystems are very big. We have Himalayan forest ecosystem, we have coastal forest ecosystems, so they are quite big in size. So prediction or the species identification, all these kind of things, they are very easy. But on the same hand, without authentication of data, we cannot proceed. We have to authenticate this data sets. So prediction and the distribution of species is also easy, because we can apply a particular method on a larger area, or because remote sensing has a capacity to provide us a synoptic view for an area. Then the spatial variability in species and richness. Nowadays, with the very high resolution data sets, we can also go for the species level characterization in a particular spatial domain, or in a particular forest ecological forested area. So spatial variability of species can be easily identified. Then detecting natural and human caused changes at scale ranging from individual landscape to the entire world. Okay, we can also go for the change detection at different scales. We can go for a district, we can go for a complete state, or we can go for a different word. So all this is possible through this remote sensing and GIS, that we can go for a change detection for as per the individual requirement. If we need to go for a specific area, we can do that also. If we want a larger area to be analyzed, we can do that also. So detecting natural and human caused changes. Okay, so with time we can also get an idea that what kind of changes they are taking place into different areas. Then we have ecologists and conservation biologists are finding new ways to approach their research with the powerful tools and data from remote sensing. Okay, so ecologists and conservation biologists. So, okay, so many people who are working into the area of forest or forest ecology or related areas, they are finding new ways where they can approach to these powerful with the help of these powerful tools, they can go for different kinds of species characterization, management, forest resources management, different kinds of plannings and managements with the help of these tools. Human activities now affect the most territorial biosphere and are increasing in the intensity and excess. So as we must have seen that many areas, or you can say forest ecosystem, are being disturbed by human activities. People, we all want to have our farmhouse inside the forested areas. We all want to due to our hectic schedules, we all want to spend at least few days into the wildlife sanctuaries, or into different forested areas, so that we can have a peace of mind. So our activities, but unknowingly what we are doing, we are disturbing the life of the habitats, or the different kinds of animals who are residing into those forested area, directly or indirectly. Because if human in encroaching into those areas, they need a infrastructure through which they can reach into those areas. Obviously they will use some transport, they will use some they will for staying also, they will be either putting some temporary camps, or they are making some farmhouse or hut sort of things. Because in Himachal also I have seen that people, they are coming for trekking into those forested areas, although they are not but knowingly or unknowingly we are disturbing the life of those habitats who are residing into those things. And directly or indirectly we are also destroying the trees, the health of those forested areas. Okay, so human activities are nowadays affecting most of the territorial biosphere, and are increasing the intensity and extent. Okay, due to which the different kinds of human elephant conflict or human habitat conflicts are nowadays we are seeing they are the common issues. Then the ensuring habitat loss and degradation impair ecosystem function and reduce the value of ecosystem services for human. Okay, then although the ecologists are improving their understanding for the factors limiting the distribution of species, extinction rates continue to accelerate. Okay, so with the help of these tools, although the scientists, the researchers, they are finding out that what are the areas where there is a extinction of various animals are taking place, and what kind of preventive measures can be used for this thing. So these technologies, they are being very helpful for these kind of analysis. Nowadays you must have seen studies where we have habitat potential zone mapping, or where we have the habitat human conflict management related studies going through. So why we are doing this? To avoid these kind of things, where we are ensuring different forest management or forest officials that through our studies, what we are able to give you is, we are able to predict that which are the places has to be preserved, or which have the areas where the human activities are very active, and due to which the forest ecosystem is being disturbed. So those are the areas we have to manage first. So these kind of analysis, with the help of these studies, we are doing it in better manner. However, the traditional field ecological data do not translate readily to regional or global extent, and model derived purely from such local data are unlikely to predict the global consequences of human activities. Okay, so with the help of these field-based studies and these remote imagery data sets, we are able to get accurate results. Okay, we are able to make different models, different simulations, through which we can go for the different kinds of areas to protect, or areas to flourish, or areas where we have to go for different kinds of management strategies as per their intensity of degradation. Okay, so these kind of things we can easily do in a more accurate way and with a time saving way. Therefore, the ecologists and the conservation biologists are turning to the rapidly development of the discipline of remote sensing and GIS to provide the techniques and data sources necessary to prepare a scientific responses to environment changes. So suppose if we are having data sets from 1950s or 1900, we can put all those data sets into the remote sensing and GIS platform, and we can go for the different kind of change analysis studies, and we can have an idea that the what is the trend of changing a particular phenomena in terms of forest degradation. So accordingly we can plan for the management studies, and with very few time we can go for such kind of studies where the change can be detection, it can be simulate, it can be demarcated, and then the managers can go for the different awareness programs and management strategies into those areas. Although the need of remote sensing is especially urgent for the conservation related sciences, the satellite based earth observations are also being used for the basic ecological research. Okay, so nowadays the need of remote sensing is very becoming important for conservation related studies. Satellite based earth observation also being very useful for the basic ecological research. Okay, so without it your studies will not be strengthened. So this has provided a more powerful tool as far as the conservation related studies are concerned. Then the application of remote sensing and GIS in forest ecology. Uh, Now, as far as the remote sensing application in the forest ecology is concerned, the land cover classification uh, is very easily can be performed with the use of satellite remote sensing. Variety of variety of these forest ecology, what kind of forests are there, extent of land cover through a study region meeting a fundamental need that is common to many ecological application. Land cover data, physiographic characteristics of the surface environment, which can range from bare rock to the tropical forest. Okay, and there are usually derived by applying statistical clustering method, the multispectral remote sensing data. The remote sensing is also assist in the development of land use data that reflect human interaction with the physical environment. Okay, so what kind of analysis or application is of remote sensing is there in forest ecology? We can go for the variety of studies, like we can go for the classification of forest, different classification of forest. We can also go for the physiography related studies. We can also go for the studies which are related to the topography of the forest, etc. We can go for the different statistical modeling to find out that what is the different kinds of clustering of forest can be calculated, and then what kind of density is there, that kind of analysis can be also done. Depending on the remote sensing and field based resources available, land cover classification can identify very specific habitats. Okay, so as based on the type of forest, we can also identify what kind of habitat can be found. So depending on these remote sensing and field based studies, the land use classification can be determined, and based on this land use classification can identify the species specific habitat also. Okay, like in a hilly area, a specific type of land use land cover can be found, and a specific kind of fauna can be find into those areas, or this can be a habitat for a specific kind of fauna. Okay, a desert type of if we are talking about a desert type of land cover, so a specific habitat can be survive in those areas. So depending on the remote sensing and field based data sets, we can easily categorize those data sets. Land cover data have proven especially valuable for proceed predicting the distribution of both individual species and the species assemblance across the broad areas that could not be otherwise surveyed. Okay, so as I have told you in the previous slide also, that uh, as the remote sensing, it gives us a synoptic view, so a large area can be covered, which is not possible to be surveyed. Then the then the forest succession. The spatial and temporal patterns of forest succession can be studied using spatially referenced vegetation from two or more dates. Okay, now succession is something related to the ages of the forest. So, with the help of temporal data sets, we can go for the studies which are related to the succession, forest succession, or the patterns, temporal patterns of the forest succession. That kind of studies can also be done. Then the transition probability of the managed areas differed from those wilderness areas primarily because of the influence of logging, which affected not only the rates of transition but also the possible types of transition. Okay, so due to logging, the transition probabilities of the areas can be also differed from one to another. In the second type, the successfully used of Lancet data. In this is an example where with the use of Lancet data, the Australian semi-arid eucalyptus wood land to detect the stage of succession based on the structural differences from 1 to 50 years of clearings. Okay, so what kind of changes took place when 1 to 50 years of clearings took place in Australian area? That kind of succession studies can be performed in another forest succession study. Okay, because here you have to support your things with the different examples. So this is one of the example where the forest succession related study, which utilized both the image processing and GIS technology in instability of fate of abdomen patches in the mosaic of mountain forest were found to be significantly related to the elevation. So in this study, what the author has tried to do is, with the help of GIS and remote sensing images, they had tried to tell about the stability of the forest and the fate of abdomen pasture patches in the mosaic of mountains forest were found to be significantly related to the elevation. Okay, so with the help of these kind of studies, we can go for this kind of succession related studies also. Assessment of stand and structure. Satellite data have been used to quantify spatially such forest structure characters as the ground density, means the tree density, tri-D altimeter, basal area of the forest, tree height. So assessment of stand structure or biomass structure satellites are used to quantify the quantify studies like characterization of forest ground cover. Okay, then the tree density, what is the tree density in a particular area, altimeter height of the trees, the basal area of the tree calculation. Okay, and the tree height and tree age, tree biomass, tree leaf area indexing. So these kind of studies also can be done with the help of different kinds of remote sensing sensors data sets. Most studies have used the spectral data generated from airborne sensors such as thematic mapper simulator. Okay, so for these kind of studies where we are talking about the crown density or crown cover analysis, tree height analysis, the basal area, height of the trees, tree ages, biomass. So here most of the studies are done with the help of drone airborne sensor data sets, where the thematic semantic mapper simulator TMS data is very useful. Here you can see sample where the different kind of lidar data sets is being captured, and then the analysis can be done as far as their height, as far as their leaf area, as far as the bustle of the tree, and the gaps between the canopy can be calculated. So with this, I'm trying to conclude my study that with the help of remote sensing, high resolution data sets, where we are talking about the airborne data sets, we can go for the analysis, even the height, even a single tree canopy calculation, the number of shape, size, and the fragmentation in the tree within various forests can be mapped. Assessment of forest productivity can also be done with the help of different satellite data sets. So satellite data sets, they are accurately detect the forest productivity. They provide cost and effect advantage over traditional field survey methods. Okay, like with the help of satellite data, as they give us a synoptic view, we can go for the these kind of productivity analysis without having the going to the field. So this is an advantage over the traditional field service. To support this, the productive estimate on satellite data have been produced with some success. Organic ecosystems, so there are many case studies you can find with reference to this also. Then the vegetation type maps in conjunction with the phytosociology, topography, soil can be also done with the help of this remote sensing data sets. Then the monitoring based on the different temporal data sets we can go. So there are so many studies which has been took place. Then the assessment of forest damage. Okay, so till now I have told you that how remote sensing is being very helpful in uh, in capturing the forest ecology related studies. So till now we have tried to cover what remote sensing, how we can inter connected this to different areas where we are talking about the remote sensing in the forest ecology, and how we can go for the assessment of different forest analysis through these remote sensing and GIS technologies. In the coming lecture, we will be discussing how we can go for the different kinds of damage analysis with the help of remote sensing and GIS. Thank you very much. In the next lecture, we will be doing the forest damage assessment through remote sensing and GIS applications. Now you all can appear for your quiz in your LMS that is waiting for you. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.